finally, we have a trade to talk about. I thought about recording an emergency podcast on it, but it just didn't feel like it warranted it. And I need to stop taking on too much, basically. But the Mavericks are acquiring Christian Wood, and it is a move. Look, we knew the Dallas was going to try and get a big, but when you look at the value that they gave to the Houston Rockets, I was surprised that Christian Wood didn't cost more. I guess it would help if I gave you the package, should you not know it, but the Rockets traded Wood to the Mavericks for the number 26 pick in the 2022 draft, Boban, Trey Burke, Marquise Chris, and Sterling Brown. I tweeted this looks like a trade that was proposed on a Reddit fan page. And even if you want to make the case that the value between them isn't like this egregious discrepancy, I look at the 4-for-1s, and it's 4 players. You see these fans, 4 players that their teams don't really need or don't play a ton. For someone who they are going to play a ton, that like those are the deals that we make fun of. And that's what this one looked like. Rockets fans, for them, they seemed pretty happy to get rid of Christian Wood and to get a first-round pick in the process. He is extension eligible and entering the final year of his deal. He was not good defensively this past season. He has never really been good defensively. There have been moments, but there's a lot of off-ball attentiveness, what feels like someone who's just not moving a ton on defense and playing with a lack of thrust there. So it seems like they were pretty happy to get rid of him. And I think you can give organizations the benefit of the doubt that if this is what they accepted, there probably wasn't a whole bunch out there, and certainly maybe not much better offers. Could you have tried to wait out the free agency market and maybe a team gets desperate? Sure. But you're in the top 3 of the draft. You're probably going to wind up with a Paolo Banchero, or I guess less likely Chet Holmgren / Jabari Smith Jr. You already have Usman Garuba, didn't play much this season, plus Alperen Sengun. There's opens minutes to the front court, like full stop. I get the logic, and you got a first-round pick, 3 first-round picks now in this draft. Let's see if they can use 26 and 17, I think that they have, to move up or just bring in guys. Like they have their roster isn't like full of all these open spots, but they could decide to go draft and stash, or like I said, again, move up. I think Eric Gordon gets moved this offseason as well. I think it's a fine trade for the Rockets. I'm probably more indifferent to the return at this point, because if he was actively harming your locker room, then yeah, you needed to get him out of there. I don't know that and another first round flyer in general is great. The 26th pick, to me, it just seems on the lower end. When you're not getting back anything else, that would be of use. And I don't view Christian Wood as that bad player. And I saw there were, people who are looking at this saying, you're going to get fooled by the box score with Christian Wood. I don't know what you're going to get fooled by the box score on. He is a very good, versatile scorer, anomalous for his size. When you look at this, which is pretty incredible, the only other players over the past 3 seasons to average 20 points per 36 minutes while shooting as well on 2s, which is around 59%, and 3s, 38%, are, in addition to Christian Wood, John Collins and Michael Porter Jr. And for people who hate the per 36 stuff, if you just go by per game, Christian Wood's points per game average during this time, 16 plus points, it's him and John Collins. I used per 36, not to help Christian Wood, but to maybe open up the candidacy for other players like in MPJ. He has a really nice floor game for a big. He gives you some self-creation, but it's also rolled into being able to be used as an accessory device. If you give him space and a good pick and roll partner, he's going to help as a pick and popper. He can even roll to the rim, finish lobs there. That's in addition to all the self-creation he brings. And just even if you don't think that, I don't think that he's someone that you should be funneling the ball to in the post, but someone who could face up in slower half-court sets or just attack off the dribble immediately off the catch after popping, that's a huge value. It's not something Kristaps Porzingis could do with Dallas. I do also think that we're discounting a little bit. This is sort of the first real team Christian Wood has played for. No disrespect to the Pistons, the Pelicans, and even the Rockets. They just weren't teams that were on these immediate win now timelines. None of them were contenders, most certainly. And he's never played alongside a playmaker as talented as Luka Doncic. Few have, but even just a point guard who ranks inside he was there during the Drew Holidays in New Orleans, I believe. But even a point guard who ranks like a top 10 floor general or top 15 floor general for an extended period of time to safeguard myself against whatever Drew Holiday, if people think I'm slandering Drew Holiday for some reason. And just look at where the Pelicans were at that point anyway. So I like this play by the Mavericks. He doesn't address what they need defensively, but they had one of the 7 best defenses this year without sort of having a premier rim protector. Kristaps Porzingis was fine, but kind of unreliable there. You do have Maxi Kleber, Dwight Powell. He can play with either one of them. You have Dorian Finney-Smith, Reggie Bullock still. I think you can incorporate a Christian Wood when you're looking at some of the dudes the Mavericks played this season without torpedoing your defense. I don't think he can be the only move, and I'm not painting it as a move that clears the gap that's separating Dallas from title contention. But this was a very low risk proposition. Did they give up on a first round pick, as they have been very inclined to do over the past 2 decades, basically? Sure. But what was the number 26 pick turning into? If you're lucky, it turns into a player who makes as much of an impact as Christian Wood. Seriously, that's what you get if you're lucky. And yes, to have a player under cost control for the next 4 years under team control would be a very big deal. You have to assume that you're going to hit on it. And if you think the Mavericks should have kept that opportunity, I get it. I don't think the number 26 pick would have actually played a role on this team in either of the next 2 years when you look at how urgent their timeline is, just because you have one of the 5 best players in the game, 7 best players in the game with Luka, and you were just in the conference finals. Sort of playing the wait and see game or giving developmental reps to a rookie wasn't in the cards. And if you're worried about Christian Wood for some reason just imploding the Mavericks' ecosystem or vibes or whatever, he's under contract for 1 year at 14.3. That's a number that can be rerouted if the Mavericks want to. And I would say for next season, Christian Wood is going to be more valuable than the number 26 pick. The other thing here, I think people have written off the idea that he would sign an extension based off the number that it could be. I'm not so sure. Is this someone who's going to get $20 million a year in free agency next year? If he has a spectacular season, sure, maybe. But I think we've also seen the value of bigs is repressed when you're not a superstar. Maybe when you're either a more traditional big or when you play one side of the floor. And what I also will say here is that the dude can move, and he leaves so much to be desired on the defensive end, but he has the size and mobility to muck up half court possessions if he's working out of drop coverages or making rotations around the basket when he's fully engaged. You can go look at Christian Wood film, which I did in the past, not in anticipation of this podcast, but for something I was writing this season. There are good defensive moments, and there were good defensive moments when he turned into an everyday player for the Pistons way back when. They've never been put together. If I'm missing something offensively, you can say that I didn't see enough of the Rockets. Houston Rockets fans watch every game twice. I'm choppering in for chunks of games at a time, trying to watch as much film on players as I possibly can when I'm writing about them and just to keep up. I recognize that there are people who are far more knowledgeable about Christian Wood than I am. I was having conversations with Rockets people, though, who were also not Rockets employees. I want to make that clear. I don't know why anyone would aggregate this, but I had conversations with people who cover the Rockets that were surprised if this is all they got for Christian Wood. And I will say this, and this is more in defense of the Mavericks than the Rockets. If this was their proposal in the middle of the season, this exact deal, even though the Mavericks functionally couldn't trade their first round pick, they have to do this after the draft because they owe 2023 to the Knicks. Even if they couldn't functionally offer this package, let's say it was on the table, the Rockets would have said no to it, and fans would have been disgusted by it in the middle of the year. That's a nice value play by the Mavericks. And so knowing that he can be moved and knowing that his next deal, if he's good, that's not going to be immovable. This isn't someone also who is going into his age 38. See, that's, who else is going into their age 38? Going in their age 33, age 32 season. He turns 27 in September. He is entering his prime. I love the offensive fit with Dallas. It's only going to elevate them. And look, he doesn't replace Jalen Brunson if Jalen Brunson leaves, but they needed another dynamic to their offense aside from having Spencer Dinwiddie, Jalen Brunson, and Luka Doncic as your primary creators. Christian Wood gives them that element in a way Kristaps never did, in ways that Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleber never were going to. And I think this is a home run trade for the Mavericks. I also think it's perfectly fine for the Rockets. I don't think they did anything wrong here. The package itself was just funny to look at. And so does that make this a win-win? The second win-win trade that I've deemed of the offseason or leading into the draft when we go back to the Thunder Nuggets trade? Sure. I think that this one is much more closer to Dallas won this because of the value that they're getting in this deal than Houston did. Let's see what they do with the number 26 pick and the rest of their first.